Welcome everyone to this first workshop with our international guest in the Strategic Thinking series. It's a pleasure for me to have Hermen with us today. Some of you might have participated to the other workshop we hosted in the IF community for facilitators, and I was sharing there that I'm a big fan of Hermen because I consider him one of the best professionals in the visual thinking space in the world. I took his course, the visual thinking course on Domestika that we will share later, a couple of years ago, and I was so happy when we connected a few months ago and started working together. So with no further ado, Hermen, welcome and enjoy, everyone.
Thank you, Bülent. Thank you. Thank you. You always put the bar very high for me when you introduce me like that. So welcome to today's workshop. It will be a very practical workshop. You will also be drawing a lot. For the ones who already have taken the previous one for the IAF community, you have a little bit of a head start because you know what's coming a little bit. Let me first start introducing myself, and then I will introduce you to visual thinking, why it's such a powerful tool, and how you can use it in your work. And then we will get in the practical area where you'll be experiencing it for yourself. Here we go. So when you think of drawing, you probably think about creating drawings, creating like pieces of art. So today's workshop is really not about that at all. What we'll be working on today is really how you can use drawings to structure conversations, also create more like shared understanding, present your ideas, and make sure that everyone in the room has the same mental model, but also to use drawings to test, refine, and improve your ideas. All the things for today you will be needing is pen, piece of paper, and your phone. This is how we are going to be reviewing also your work and learning from each other. Are you prepared? Do you all have a pen and a piece of paper ready? Yeah? Great, awesome. So like I said, first I will do a short introduction, present about my work, what I do a little bit of background information about visual thinking, and then we will, the main part of today's workshop will be you drawing, and then we will be reviewing it together and so forth. So before I dive into visual thinking, let me introduce myself. So my name is Hermen Lutje Berenbroek, with a very challenging last name, even in the Netherlands, but especially in English. So my company is called Artificer, and what I do is I help leaders and entrepreneurs inside organizations simplify complexity and help them align their teams about change. Change is always the core of my work. Whether it's a new product, a new vision, new strategy, it's about engaging people, make them understand the direction, and then bring them on board and help them understand it so they can also take action and people can execute their ideas and plans. So my work is mostly about engagement and alignment. I use visuals and drawings to engage people and align them around objectives. Also clarity and complexity. So I use visuals and workshops to break down information and make sure people are having a shared mental model so they really understand the bits and pieces of complex information. And then finally, I bring all this together and create actionable outcomes. So I really empower people to better understand and also take action, to take decisions based on their understanding, action based on that. My approach, so when you think about drawing, you usually think about a visual outcome, like a piece of art or a poster or drawing. But the real value of drawing is in the approach. It's in the process of drawing. So in my own approach, in my work, in my projects, I have three different phases. The first phase, the alignment phase, this is really about bringing people together in a workshop and start with opening up. So here you can see in the beginning of the workshop, we are opening up with ideation, we are sharing ideas. We're not judging the ideas at this point very specifically, because first we need to create a place where people feel comfortable just sharing information without judgment. Then in the middle parts during the workshop, we start looking for patterns, we start putting things together, also seeing what's not. We look at what's scope, but also what's out of scope. So we kind of narrow down the scope. And then at the end of each workshop, after opening up, I also want to ensure that we are making decisions. And this is also a place where drawings often are very helpful, because once you start visualizing information, it's really making decisions about how you are going to organize this information, what's going to be in it, what's not going to be included. So drawing already in the workshop is a very powerful tool to use. Then after the workshop, in the next phase, this is the engage phase. In this phase, I will usually create different concepts. So I will look at the information we discovered in the workshop and create different approaches, different perspectives on how to visualize that. And then I give it back to the core team in the workshop, so we can have a conversation. So they can tell me like, hey, this worked really well. That perspective doesn't really work. It's not correct. Or so it helps me better understand and go a little bit deeper into the information. But it's also a tool for them to go back into the organization and share these concepts with other stakeholders who weren't there at the workshop, and involve them to hear their feedback and get a better understanding of the content. This helps. This is very valuable for two reasons. So one thing, it helps us better understand the content and the core and the essence of the information. But on the other hand, it's also bringing on more stakeholders, more people into this objective. So by asking them questions, we also enable them to become part of this objective by giving feedback. So if it's about change, they feel it's about being heard, so that they feel that they're being listened to and that they're becoming part of the change. So this phase is very key, not just to share ideas, but also to ensure that you engage people and that they are involved in your objectives. And then finally, when we come to a place where we've incorporated all this feedback, then I create different design deliverables which my clients can use to really activate this change, to share ideas and to really engage the broader organization. So some pictures of how these different phases look like. So during the workshops, I work with many post-its, like you're probably used to, but I also visualize information on large posters. So I start drawing different concepts, as you can see here, so people can look at it, make decisions, better understand, and really speak the same language. I also use gamification. So this was a workshop in Detroit for Fords, where I brought two little Ford cars, and I split the room in two teams, and I created like a road with which was the road towards their objective. But then I asked the two teams to come up with all the different roadblocks which would stand between them now and reaching their objective. And then by creating two different groups, I could add some time pressure, and by turning it into a little game, like, okay, the team who can solve all these challenges the fastest wins this game. And this just enabled the team to think about solving these roadblocks, but also adding a little bit of time pressure ensures that you're not spending the whole day in just talking about how to solve these challenges and ending up not at the place where we want to be. So like I mentioned in these earlier slides, for me, it's always very important to end here, where you're really in a place after each workshop where people have made decisions and where you have actionable outcomes so people can really progress. I never want to end up here, especially because then you just have many ideas and nobody knows what to do with it. So that's where the gamification sometimes is very helpful. And then, like I mentioned, I also draw a lot during conversations, especially when it's going a little bit deeper into products or technology. I often ask like, hey, can you explain me how this works? So I can understand it, but what I also always noticed is that it's also helpful for the people in the room, because every time when I start doing this, I will get an aha moment from people in the room that they had a whole different idea about something which was hidden in words, and they thought they were talking about the same thing. But actually, once you start drawing it, you realize that people have just different ideas of meaning of words, and yeah, especially in business with many many ambiguous words with different meanings. So then the next phase where I create these different concepts, I create very high level concepts. So sometimes often I don't even add text yet at this stage. I just create scribbles. And this is because I really want people to start focusing on the high level concept, an approach how we could tell this story. So when I present these different concepts to my clients, I will always create like a slide deck where I show these concepts, but also add like an explanation. I will talk them through, but also add an explanation, because then this enables them also to talk internally and show this to other people and ask their feedback. Then often I use Miro or Mural to gather their feedback in online conversations, where in this case I even color coded all the different people who are in this call to ensure that I would also better understand who was providing which feedback. And then based on this feedback, I will start creating design deliverables. Eddie, I see you have
a quick question from Adi, I think.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm curious, so you were talking about different steps and kind of big chunks. Is this done in multiple sessions, or is it done in one session, or it depends?
Yeah, it depends. Usually, this is most of my projects. This is an on-site workshop where I will work with 10, 15 people. Usually, it's about a day. Sometimes it's a bit longer. It can be 2 days. Can also be half a day. Then this is often an online meeting where I will be presenting the ideas. Then in here, there's time. So after I gave this presentation, I hand over the different concepts. They can use that internally to gather feedback, and then we have another call where they present me the feedback. Then I will start incorporating that into another version of that same visual. So in this phase, there are actually multiple points of contact. First, to where I present the concepts which I created based on the workshop. Then another one where I collect all their feedback, and then another meeting where I present them with the final iteration of in this case the visual, and then I'm going to create a final deliverable which they can use internally.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So then sometimes it ends here. So this was for a Dutch bank where I created this visual which they could use internally. It didn't need to be further on brand than this. This was like a digital hand-drawn visual which enabled them internally to tell this story and clarify their approach. But in other cases, I will also work with different illustrators to create really illustrations of their ambitions or visions, so they can use this and print it and put it in their office and use it in presentations to really bring the rest of the organization along with them. Besides my projects, I've been working for many different organizations in different sectors also. So I've been working, like I mentioned, for Ford, BMW, but also for Sanofi, Novartis, Google, Oracle. So it's very, with my clients, I focus on complexity, and I'm able to work in any market as long as there's complexity. I do notice that in the finance market, it's often, because there you have regulation, you've got technology, and you've got people. This is a market where I often work very well because of this complexity. besides the projects, I also host training workshops. And so like today, we have like a mini workshop, but sometimes it's also on location where I work with different teams to host presentations, but sometimes also like multiple day workshops where we go really deeper. We dive deeper into how you can use drawing, but also how you can connect it to running workshops, and how you can integrate the design of your workshops with visual thinking. And finally, this is about presentations. So besides the training, I also often go to summits where I host little workshops or little presentations about visual thinking, like the Design Thinking Summit, or this was a workshop for a Microsoft community in France, which was also very interesting. And finally, I have an online course on Domestika, which Bulent already mentioned, where last week I just reached the 10,000 students in my course. So that was a very exciting moment for me after a couple of years. This is a place where individuals from all over the world can learn how to use drawings, and the whole course is based on this idea that I wanted to enable people to learn how to use this for themselves, but I also wanted the outcome of this course to be a tool for them which they can use to share their ideas. So you can follow this course if you just want to learn to draw, but you can also follow it if you have like a personal idea you're very passionate about and you want to figure out a way how you can best communicate your idea to your audience. And I think that last part is very interesting, because I see that I see many people in this course who had great ideas and really took this course to be able to share their idea and wanted to make impact. So that was really great to see. So far,
maybe before we jump into the exercises for the next hour and some minutes, if anyone has any questions about Hermen's experience, maybe we can take a couple of minutes, so 2-3 minutes max. But if you have any questions, since Hermen has so much experience in the visual thinking space, now is the moment, because next we'll go into exercises.
No questions. We at the end, we also have room for questions. So if
all right, okay.
You cannot think of something now, maybe later. All right. So that was the part where I was mainly talking about myself, but now it's going to be about you. So let's first start with identifying this hidden superpower, because I already heard some of you saying like, hey, I'm not really good at drawing, or I'm more like, I work better with text. So let's dive a little bit deeper in that. So first, let's start with asking a question to you. So everybody probably use writing in your daily work. You know, when you write an email or write text messages on a daily basis. So how comfortable are you with writing in your daily work? And Bulent is going to add a text in the chat. And if you can just react on that specific text with a thumb. So if you feel like, hey, I'm very comfortable, give the writing comfortable a thumbs up, and if you're uncomfortable, do it with the uncomfortable one. Yeah, you're getting it. Comfortable, 10 people. Comfortable, 2 not. Very uncomfortable, uncomfortable. Okay, so let's see. It is about, you know, we're not doing science here, so it's just to get an idea of this. So
very towards comfortable.
yeah, it's moving here. You know, there's one person very uncomfortable, so slightly more to the left. So here you go. So this is good. So now I'm going to ask you that same question, but now about how comfortable are you with drawing at your daily work?
So I'll put in chat so you can react with thumbs up.
Yeah. So please just react on the text Bulent puts here with a thumbs up. Then we have a very quick overview. No. Yeah.
Like a race.
Okay. Yeah, it is. Okay, so slightly more uncomfortable than comfortable. So seems like, oh, it's equal. So there, you're in the middle. It's a good place to be. Okay, so the goal of today is to move you a little bit more to the right today.
Mhm.
So we still have about an hour left, so let's go for it. Are you ready for it? Yeah. Okay. Great. So I'm going to start with a very easy exercise. So please take a piece of paper and your pen, and then you can follow me here. So with this piece of paper, just add some squiggles. Just don't overthink it. Just add some couple of squiggles like this. Okay. Now we're going to turn these squiggles into little birds. So we're going to add like a little eye, a triangle for a beak, and then two legs like this, and a little tail. Like this. So how did it, can you quickly share your drawing on the screen here in front of the camera?
Don't be shy.
Oh, nice. Nice. Cool. So for me, I do see birds. How is it for you? If you see a bird, put your thumbs up. Yeah. Great. So the idea of this exercise is, if we get started and we even don't start with the intention to draw a bird, we just did a squiggle. Just by adding like a little dot, a beak and two legs and a tail, it's so easy to trick our mind and make this squiggle into a bird. And that's the kind of level you need for drawing and for visual thinking. So you don't need to be overthinking it and think like, oh my God, I don't know how to draw a bird. It's our brains are really wired to process information visually, and you can really trust that. And you can really count on that. No matter how good or bad your drawing is, your audience will probably really understand which message you want to bring across. So you can really use that. Okay. Let's dive a little bit deeper into how this works. You know, why our brains are so good at processing this information visually. So another question: what do you see here? So you can put it in the chat. So if you see whatever, just put it in the chat. Smiley, outlet, button, face, again button. So actually, oh, 1 second. It is a power plug. So the idea here is that if we as a human being look at specific visual information, we tend to see things which are not always there. So in this case, it's easy to see a face, but actually it's a power plug outlet. And that actually has a word. So that's a phenomenon. It's called pareidolia, and that's the tendency humans to see faces into visual information, which is not always like meant to be a face. I also have it with cars, for example. If I see a car, I can look at it and see like, oh, that car has like a very friendly face, or that car looks really aggressive. So it's I see faces everywhere. But for us, it's going to be very helpful because, again, the brain is so wired to really recognize information visually. It really lowers the bar, so we really don't need to be able to draw very well. You know, we can just trust again on the fact that people will recognize it. Then one of the benefits we have drawing is that our brains process visual information much faster than text. So I read a report which says that it was 60,000 times faster than text. Not sure if that's correct, but anyway, in all the reports I've been reading, it is much faster than text anyway. So that's this was just a very impressive number, I thought. So that's one of the benefits. The other benefit is that humans are much better in memorizing information if it's text and visual together. So if you see just a piece of text, then after 3 days, only 10% of the people will memorize that piece of text. But if you combine it with a picture, then you'll have 65% of people who will still memorize it. And that is because you will use different parts of your brain. And with that connection, you're just able to memorize it much better. So between these two, these are very powerful. So the first one is very powerful in workshops, where if you start working with text, it just enables you to work much faster. So imagine if you would have a wall with post-its in a workshop, and you're organizing this, and it's just all different pieces of text on these post-its. You would have to reach every post-it to better understand, like, okay, what was this again? What was this again? But once you start working with drawings, it's much easier to organize this information and also to scan it and to work with it. And then the memorization part, it's very effective if you're sharing visuals, sharing your ideas visually, because then people will memorize it much better than just with pieces of text. So let's dive a little bit into the workshops itself and how you can use it in workshops and in your daily work. So if you're looking at meetings with traditional meetings, which often are about people sharing ideas, where it's very directional and very text-based, also presentations with slides and bullet points. On the other hand, we have more collaborative meetings where it's much more about collaboration and visualizing your ideas, working also to make sense of these ideas together. So in the first setup, so the traditional meetings, it's, like I said, very one-directional. And the challenge is also because it's just text-based, these words have meanings to different people. So there's the chance that in these words, you think that you're aligned and you think you're all talking about the same challenge, but you're actually not, because the words have different meanings. Things get lost in translation. Maybe you work with an international team. So that there's a big chance that you're not actually aligned, and that even though you think you are. Then the other problem is something I also, it happens a lot to me when people just start sending information with lots of text. I can memorize part of it, but then after a while I just get lost and it just goes, it doesn't get stuck in my brain. So when you start collaborating, it's much more about using this process to visualize information, to ensure that you're aligned, to iterate, to build on top of each other's ideas. This process, this way of collaboration is much more engaging. It's much more about listening to each other, to understand it, to visualize this information, and then to iterate and to improve it. So it's a whole different way of collaborating also. The benefit of turning this information into visuals is that by doing so, you create a shared mental model. So all the people in the room, you can ensure that once it's visual, that they have that same mental model in their head, and you know that you're aligned about your objective or about the complex information. And if not, people are also able to pinpoint it and ask questions about it until you get to a point where you are aligned. The other benefit of working with visuals is that when people have different opinions about something, and if it's just in conversation, then people look at each other and you will start having a conversation about who's right or wrong. But when you're going to visualize information and you put it on the wall, then people don't turn to look at each other, but they turn towards the wall, and you start working on making it correct and creating, like, again, a shared mental model. but also aligning around the shared mental model where you judge the idea and you start working on making the idea correct instead of judging each other and making it about. Finally, what happens also when you visualize information is that you're freeing up space in your brain because you don't have to memorize all the bits and pieces. You don't have to memorize how they're connected. You don't have to memorize the hierarchy in that, but you really create brain space to work and start working further on the content. So that's also a very beneficial element. It's like playing chess. You know, if you would play a game of chess and you would have to memorize all the different bits and pieces on the board in front of you, it would take up a lot of brain space. It would really hold you from playing the actual game. But if you have the board in front of you and you can see the pieces and you know where they are and you can move them, it frees up the space in your brain to really play the game much better and much more efficiently. So that's, yeah, it works just similar with images. All right, so let's dive into the drawing basics. So please grab your pen and paper. But before we go in there, I just want to mention again that we're not here today to create art. We're really here to, just like you're writing a text message or creating an email, it's really very easy and so no worries about your drawing skills again. So before you get started, let me introduce you to the visual alphabet, which was developed by Dave Gray. So Dave, he developed this alphabet to enable people to just like learning a new language, to have different symbols in your mind, which enables you to draw very easily. So he created this visual alphabet, which is a dot, a line, an angle, a circle. The idea behind this is that whenever you're going to draw, if you think about using these simple elements, it becomes really easy to draw. So I won't go into the details of this alphabet, but just let me show you very quickly an example of how easy it is. So if you can put in the chat. So, sorry.
No worries.
Okay. So if you can put a word in the chat, an object, then I can draw it very quickly with these elements. A cat. Okay, nice. It's funny because I always, when I ask to draw people to come up with an object, the first thing they always say is like an animal. So a cat. So a cat would be like a circle like this, and then maybe triangles like this. Eyes, and then like a nose. This cat? Yeah, okay, great. Let's see, a rocket. Okay. So a rocket would be like a curve like this. This. Rocket. Let's see. A horse, but the full horse. Okay.
Nice brief.
Okay. So the reason I say objects because I'm really bad at drawing animals, but okay, I will go for it. So a horse. So let's see. A little bit like this, probably. Like this. This a horse? What do you think? I see people like.
Diana looks happy.
Oh yeah. Okay. So, and
He's
a great
horse,
thing.
Hermen.
Yeah. Okay. But the great thing now is because I'm not, I don't have a horse. I don't know much about horses. So I could ask questions like, okay, so if this is not the perfect horse, what is the perfect horse? You know, should it be like, maybe I made it too long, maybe it should be taller, and maybe it has to feel a little bit bigger, maybe the tail is not correct. So, you know, we can start pinpointing what's right and what's wrong, looking at this horse. So we have a shared mental model which we can use to have that conversation. So okay, so it's a pony. Okay, I made a pony. Let's see, a labyrinth. So a labyrinth. Like it could be like very two-dimensional. It could be like it has an entrance, and then, you know, not just an entrance, probably also an exit, right, or a goal or something you have to reach. So maybe it's like it's where you enter. You have different options. Like this. Then this is the point where you enter, exit. Good enough? Great, great. So you already noticed that even while I'm drawing, I'm thinking like, hey, what's I never created like a labyrinth before. So what does which element make a labyrinth? Like, okay, so it has an entrance, but it also needs an exit. You need to have an objective. So that's why it's called visual thinking, because you're really, while you're drawing it, you're thinking like, hey, what does it actually mean? Okay, so let's continue. And now it's up to you to start drawing. So please take a fresh sheet of paper and divide it into 6 equal squares by adding 3 lines. So 1 horizontal line and 2 vertical lines. Then I'm going to be naming different objects, and then it's up to you to start drawing them. So the first one is a clock. Then a book. A laptop. A table. Desk. Finally, a document. Right. So now when you're ready, we came up with this process. It looks quite complex now I open it, but it's actually perfect. So all you have to do is take a photo of your drawing, then scan this QR. Then this QR will open this app. Bulent is also putting the link in the chat, but if you're on your phone, it might be easier to scan the image, so it opens up on your phone. Then you get to this website where you can upload your photo, then upload your photo and press submit, and then we will receive your photo and are able to put it in the Miro board.
What was the last 2 words that we need to draw?
Yes, so a desk and a document.
Thank you.
Nice, I see the first drawings coming in. this. Oh. Okay, so I placed the QR code here in the corner, so you have still access to it if you want to upload your drawings. So how was it for you to create these drawings? Easy, hard? Anyone? Are you still working very hard to draw? So maybe it was kind of hard.
It's easy.
Okay, good. All right, so let's have a look at your work. So let's see. So I see the clock. So this clock is very, it's nice because we went very fast, and that was also intentional because usually when you're in workshops, you don't have much time. So you have to work fast. The other reason why we work fast is because I don't want you to overthink things. And I want you to experience how even if you just draw like a circle with 2 lines in it, it becomes a clock. So it doesn't need to, you don't have to add much detail, and it's very fast. You will be creating something very functional. So this is a great example because the book, it's like it has text. It's an open book. It has multiple pages also, so it's not just like a one-pager. Then the laptop, it has like a screen. It has keyboards, and the keyboard is just perfectly fine with just adding like these lines like this. Table, just like a square with 4 legs, and nice also in perspective. This one still would still be a table, but this one was a desk. So by adding a monitor on your table, it becomes a desk. So just by adding this little detail, it changes the meaning of the table, because now, basically this could also be a desk, but if you want to communicate a desk, it works better if you would add a laptop. Document, in this case, a text document with some lines of text. So I think this is very well done. What I also like, and this is also great, if you can also add labels. So there's nothing wrong with combining visuals and text. So sometimes you will come across something which is challenging to draw. Then if you don't know it, use labels. So if this was a desk, you could draw a table and just write desk. So you're also sure that people see your visual as being a desk. So, okay, so here a clock. In this case, it was a watch. So, and this, I think it's interesting because, and here I see an alarm clock. So just with something as simple as the word clock, in the first 3 drawings, we see that people had a different idea about the word when they heard the word clock. So for one person thought about a clock as something you have on a wall. The other person as a clock as being something you have on your wrist, and the third person thinks about a clock as something you have on at the side of your bed. And imagine now that if the word clock can already confuse us in business, when the words are getting much more complex and it's much easier to be confused with it, or have a different understanding, where it's also more important that you're all aligned about the real meaning of these words. Imagine how tricky it is there to work with different words, which can have multiple meanings to people. Let's see. So, oh, cool. There's the rocket also made it in. So this one has a little bit more detail in the clock, also the numbers, which is, and again, there's no right or wrong. It's the only thing I want you to take away here is that if you add elements, just like in this case, you added like the computer, it also changed the meaning of this object. So if you start adding elements, think about the elements you add if they really help in making the idea more clear. So in this case, the clock didn't need to add more. It didn't need to have more elements because it's already clear. But if your intention was to draw like an alarm clock, then it does need like a little bit more details. So if you consider adding details, do it intentionally. Think about like, hey, does it need these details, or can it also is it also clear without? Let's see. Nice. So this is also nice. So there's also like a document, but this is more like it looks like it's more like a checklist with little checks in front of it. The table is, in this case, it's round, and the desk is square, which is also fair because I think usually desks are square, and if you put it next to the table, you see there's a difference in there, and that makes also perfect sense. That I don't see many offices with round tables. Nice. I once did a workshop at KPMG, and it was funny because there were people who, when I asked them to draw a table, they would draw like an Excel spreadsheet with a table. And I thought, yeah, and I think it's funny because it's like it always keeps surprising me how easy it is for people to have different understandings of words, even when I think it's very simple. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's go to the next one. Go. The next exercise is about drawing people. So we've looked at drawing objects, but people are very important because, you know, whenever we create communication, it is about people. So you also want to be able to show people, you know, where they fit in your idea and how they are related to it. But of course, if you think about drawing people, it's easy to think to make it very complex. So Dave Gray also came up with a very simple way to draw people. So let me show it to you. So you start with drawing like a rectangle, which is the body. Then on top of it, you draw a circle, which is the head. Then you can use the edges of the rectangle to draw the arms, the legs, and then the feet. And then in the face, you can add 2 dots for the eyes, and then a nose, and a mouth. There you go. You have a human being. And of course, this looks very simple, and it is intentionally also simple because the more you do it, you can become very fast in creating them. And even what I often do if I have to do it very fast, often I just do it like this. If it's like a group of people, you know, again, you can count on that people will recognize your idea and they will get what your intention is. Okay, now getting back to drawing people. So using this method, it's also very easy to draw people in different situations. So let's draw a person who is running. So when you're running, your body is a little bit curved. So let's start with that. So this is the rectangle, but now in a little bit of curve. Then your arms are like a little bit like this. So, and then your legs also like this. Your head, your eyes, your mouth. Here you go. So it's as easy as that. But now let's take a look at the nose, because as you can see here, the nose it's quite long, and that's intentionally. It's not because I wanted to draw like Pinocchio when this person is lying, but this nose is really very helpful because it's indicating in which direction this person is looking. So for example, if we take that person who is running and we would add a nose like this, it immediately changes the meaning of this visual, because now this person is not running towards something, this person is running away from something. So it's becoming a whole different story just by adding like this little detail of the nose. Just like when we talked about drawing tables and we add details to it, it changes the meaning. It's also with drawing people. The more details you add, the more meaning you give this, and it's also you have to consider that when drawing people. Okay, so next exercise. Again, please take a fresh sheet of paper, and we'll follow the same steps as the one for the objects. So I'll be naming 6 different people, and it's up to you to start drawing them. So the first one, the pilot. The second one is an employee. The third one is a facilitator. Just go for it. It doesn't have to be perfect. The president, number 4. Number 5, CEO. And the final one, number 6, a nurse. Okay. So we will give you 1 more minute to finish it, and don't overthink it. Then just take a picture again. The code is up here, and upload it, please, on using that same process, so we can have a look. So normally in a workshop, if you would all be sitting in the same room with me, this would be the moment that I would mention like how silent it is. Because usually even in a room full of people, like 100 people, once people start drawing, it becomes very silent. You will only hear the markers on the paper. In this case, you're all on mute, so of course it's silent. I'm the only one talking here. But I always call it out because it's amazing to see once people start drawing how silent it becomes. It's really creating, you can really feel that people are thinking about something like, hey, how should I draw this? What does it actually mean? So
like a shared reflection space.
Yeah, it is. All right, let's have a look at your drawings. Nice. All right, the first one. So there's the pilot, and this person, I cannot. It's how say, it's a little bit pixely because of the app we use, but it doesn't matter because even if I look at this, I can see that this person is sitting. The hands are holding like the steering wheel of a plane. It's not like a car, so it has like these 2 sticks. So, and it has like this cap, which the pilots often use. And even this like the stick figure here, which is a person, it's a little bit different than the approach we took, but it doesn't matter at all, because you can still see like, hey, this is a human being, somebody who's holding like a suitcase. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It tells that story very well. Let's see. So we have the CEO.
Could you add the QR code on this slide as well?
Oh, yeah. Let me do that. Seconds. There you go. Yeah. So, oh, this is wrong. I see. Second. Take this out. The CEO here is a person with a bag of money. So that's a very fitting way to visualize the CEO. The president, it seems like this person is wearing like a long tie, and that seems like a cap. So if it would be like a red tie, it would be like the American president. It was funny. I was in a workshop having the same exercise, and I just talked about this nose being, that we're not trying to create Pinocchio, but then a person in the room created like the president and made the nose extra long, so it did become Pinocchio. Like he felt like the president was very, not very truthful. Nice. The pilot, again, it's this person wears a cap, but also has like these symbols on the shoulder. And then this is like the suitcase with those little wheels, so they always walk through the airport in their uniform, dragging these suitcases. So I think this is a very nice one too. The facilitator, somebody who is there with a Sharpie in front of the room. This one is also nice. It's showing also the plane. So, and this is also a great point. So if you feel like, hey, I need more context, because the pilot could also be like, so for example, here is a pilot which has a cap and also these symbols on the shoulder, but that could also be like a policeman. So if you would add also a plane, then it's becoming really clear that this is a pilot. Or this one is also, this also works. I am a pilot. I am an employee. Using the little drawings with text, that works perfectly too. Especially if you have to think on your feet and it has to be fast, then just draw somebody and create a little label. Then during the workshop, you can also come back to it like, hey, and start adding little details to it. So let's see. Nice. So the other thing, one of the reasons I started with like all these roles and then I ended up with a nurse is because when people draw nurses, they often think suddenly start thinking about gender. So at this point, people often create like a female version of the nurse. And this is something I just want you to be aware of, that whenever you start drawing people, and especially when you start adding details, just like with the table and adding the computer on top, the more details you add, the more meaning you give to something. So because we've been adding like caps and different accessories to these people, we also sometimes even unintentionally make them all male, because now with all these different elements, we look at them as being male because they have that kind of level of detail. So it's also up to you to think about very intentionally, like, hey, if I'm adding all these details, then what else should I add to make it more like not the how to say, not like a world full of cliches, but also to be more intentional about how you want this to be. So if you want the president to be female or the CEO, go for it. So that's the final remark there. All right, so well done. Let's see. let's go to the next exercise. Let's see. Let's skip this one. This was. Let's move forward because we have 25 minutes left, and I would like to move to the also to have you experience the last exercise. So let's look at how we can use drawings to structure information. So we've been practicing with objects, we've been practicing with people, and it's like learning a new language where you now know, different words. You know how to draw like a pilot or a table or a desk, but the goal is to create sentences to connect these to convey your idea. So in order to do so, we have a whole different set of tools we can use to provide this structure. So we can of course use text as labels, but we can also like create little banners of it. We can create speech bubbles, like having text, or thought bubbles, if somebody is thinking. We can create different kind of arrows to connect different elements. We can use color, we can use shadow, and especially with the lines and the arrows, these are very helpful to show different processes and how things are connected. So if you look at the kind of messages you want to convey with drawings at any time, you can always organize them in 3 different areas. So one is what. So if you want to convey what something is, it's usually like an ecosystem. So you're going to show all the different bits and pieces, maybe people involved, or maybe this is about technology, you draw like a laptop, and you show how they're all being connected. So it really shows like, what is the hierarchy? Is it like, yeah. And in that you have different approaches. The other thing which you could show is a why. And a why is often a comparison. You show a current state and you show an objective, a future state, something where you want to go. And by showing these differences, you convey the why. So the why actually is like an ecosystem. It's a what, but then you create 2 different versions of a what, and that conveys the why. And then finally, it's the how. So how is often like a process. So in this case, you can also again start with a what by showing like, okay, this is where we currently are. This is the current state. And then the future state might be over there. And then there are like the steps in between to get from the current state to the future state. So these are the 3 main frameworks you can use to tell your idea. And in this, you can use like all the things we just learned about how to draw people, how to draw different objects to convey your story. So with this, we're getting to the final exercise today. And I want you to create a little story, a little how. So think about the next 3 steps in your career. So take a fresh piece of paper, divide it in, by just adding 2 lines, divide it in 3 equal elements, and draw the 3 next steps. Or not the 3, draw the next steps in your career, not necessarily 3. You can start with the current state, or you can even start with, your next step in this. You have 3 minutes, and then we'll be sharing this again and reviewing it as a group. So, Pulant, can you add like a timer in the Zoom? Is that?
Yeah, I'll start the timer in Zoom.
Cool. And again, when you're drawing, don't worry about the qualities of your drawing. You can really trust on us that we will be able to understand. Okay, we're halfway. So 1 minute and 30 seconds left. No worries if you don't get it perfectly. It's not like we're creating like a contract here, which you will have to sign and you will have to follow for the next years. When you're ready, you can use the QR code again in the corner to upload your picture. Okay, 20 seconds left. All right, time's up. Let's have a look. So this one, it's a very simple is not the right word, but very focused one.
Abstract.
Anyone who yes,
It's
did you create
my
this?
drawing, yes.
Can you explain it to us?
Well, the first one is extending the horizon. The second one is integrating, and the third one is go to market.
Nice, nice. I really like this one because it's so you don't?
No, it really exposes my highly abstract thinking, and maybe this is a disadvantage in some areas of work.
Yeah, but I can imagine that if you want to explain this story, you're going to be talking about okay, so this is your slide deck. There you go. And you'll be presenting this to your team or to your coworkers, and you say like, okay, you first explain it just like you did to us now, and you say like, okay, we have 3 steps. First is expanding the horizon. The second one is more integrating it, and then the third one we're moving forward. I now in my brain I can already connect these symbols to your words, and when you're creating like the slides with the details on how you're going to do that, then you can really use these symbols, and they're so simple that it's also very easy to remember. And then in here you can just create like, you know, like, okay, and in these 3 steps we'll be doing that first phase, and then so I think
nice. Thank you.
So even though they're very simple, they're more like icons already. So it can really help you structure your story. All right, so let's have a look at this one. Gabriela, would you explain it to us?
Yes, I can explain. The first one is just me teaching others. The second is me with a network, let's say. And the third one is based on a platform.
Where you will be even reaching more people.
Exactly.
Yeah, nice. Nice. So what I really like in here is that in these simple drawings, you made it clear that you're kind of expanding the scale of your work.
Yes,
right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Nice. And how was it for you to do this?
It wasn't easy because I believe about me that I'm not so good at drawing, but also it was a very good exercise, visual one for the future. So thank you for this.
So what I also see here is that in the first one, you created yourself also. So this is something you're present, and this maybe in the next steps, it's less about you, but more about the things you share, and so it's also you're taking a step back, so it becomes easier also to make it scalable.
Indeed.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Nice. So let me ask the others. So if a thumbs up, if you can easily recognize the drawings and connect it to her story. Yeah. Nice. So for me, it's like even when you say like, hey, I'm still uncomfortable with drawing, it's very easy to read and to understand your intention behind it. So thank you. Let's see. So Zoltan, could you share your story?
Yes, with pleasure. So I started drawing without any idea, just led by spontaneity. And the first phase, there were at the beginning just some lines, and I imagined there some music sheets. And in my situation now, the sheet ends. I don't know how to play anymore from prescripted music sheet, and the notes are blowing in the air and falling down. So this is the current situation. It's like I cannot play my life and my career anymore from music sheets. This is the current state. The second was also the same technique. So just lines as spontaneously came out from me. And now I see in perspective some lines which are interconnected with somehow a tree, and on that tree are some notes, and the rest of the notes are hidden. We cannot say it, but it's a connection between background and figure, or connection between down and up. Yeah. And the third, I was under the pressure of urgency when you said 20 seconds. And I also just draw some spontaneous lines. It's chaotic and I cannot see it. So I switched off my thinking, and I switched off my rational ideas. This was my objective coming here to this workshop today, just to switch off ratio and switch on something spontaneous. Thank you.
Nice. I really love it. I think I could see that final one where you were under time pressure, but especially with the first one and the second one, I think it's really like the way you describe it. Like, hey, I've got this framework on which you can play music, but it feels like I still want to play music, but the structure is falling apart. The structure is leaving me, and I'm not able to, play my music. And I think it's such a beautiful metaphor which you use to describe it. And you say like, hey, some notes are falling on the ground, others are kind of moving in air. It's like, so, and then the second one is a transition to like, okay, you've created a beautiful metaphor for why your current state, you feel like, hey, this is not working. So then in that transition, you feel like, hey, I want something totally different. So a whole, no pieces of paper anymore. It's going to be completely towards something different, like a tree. Some things are hidden. So and I think it's, I think you're using the metaphors very well. And I think also, and this is also a message I want to get across today, is that, for example, this one, it wasn't I couldn't see immediately that it was a tree, but now while you were explaining it, I could suddenly see like, okay, there's the structure again, the structure of the nodes, and that the nodes are in the tree there.
Yeah.
So sometimes you need to explain your drawings, but that's okay, you know, and it's just as powerful. So really nice job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see. So one final one. Yeah, let's take this one. Okay, the brave eagle. Could you please explain the story?
If
the brave eagle has left
the brave
building.
eagle has not left the building yet, because some people left.
Okay, so let's take this one. Diana, do you want to explain yours?
Yes, I can do. First of all, thank you very much. So thank you for organizing this. I think mine resonates a little bit with the previous one that was discussed. So in the first stage, I was thinking that I get my narrative across certain targets, let's say. In the second stage, I wanted to get to an exponential target from that perspective and increase the literacy, let's say, in my domain. And then for the third stage, I just wanted to symbolize how it will be when this literacy is by default, like it's just part of the, like we don't have to talk about the systems thinking because it's thinking, or we don't have to talk about, I don't know, futures literacy because it's just literacy. It's part of the, the default way of thinking. So this is but I have to be honest that I got inspired from when you showed us how can you draw many people. So I just used that metaphor, if you want, that analogy, and I multiplied it here.
Nice.
But I find it very difficult, just to let you know.
Yeah,
it's really not easy. However, I am happy about myself that I managed to do this. Like I was looking at the picture. Okay, it's not what I wanted to, or what I wanted to be. But still, it's okay. And I'm the one that asked you to draw a horse because my daughters are always laughing at me when we draw animals and stuff, and mine have nothing to do with the reality. I just can't make something that looks like it's in the reality. So that's why I wanted to also learn some tricks in that perspective. Thank you very much, Hermen.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So about the horse and about drawing. So with drawing, since we're not artists, it's perfectly fine to look at each other's work and to steal. If you see somebody else who draws a perfect horse, just copy it and start using it for yourself. So it's not like, again, like we're creating art. Regarding your drawing, I think it's really nice to see how you're using this to tell your story. So I see also in here, like the way you draw these people, I see the people here. I see like, hey, these are groups of people. The other thing which makes it very nice is that you can also iterate and build on each other's ideas. So I was thinking like if the first one is about having, change this a little bit. Sorry, undo. Yeah, so if this is about scaling and bringing more people into, I think it was systems thinking or what you want to achieve. You bring more people into this circle. But then at the final one, where you just created like one person, because as I understand it correctly, this is where it's not that we bring even more people in. It's more like the circle is now inside the people. It's not like they're standing in a circle, but it's inside them already. And I think just by showing this to others, it helps you to have that conversation and to build on each other's ideas and to iterate it and to make it better. So for me, and this might be a good final word also for this workshop today, since we're nearing the end, I think drawing why I love it so much. It's really about understanding each other and listening to each other, wanting to really actively understand the other person. And then while in this process, while we do this, you also enable a conversation where you can improve things and build on top of each other's ideas. So I think that's the power of drawing, and it's something very powerful and also very necessary, I think, in business, but also in the world today. So thank you very much for following this and going through all the exercises and taking this leap into experiencing it for yourself. So before we get to the end, I want to ask you a question. So we started with, how are you able to convey an idea with drawing, and you ended up right in the middle. So Bülent, if you could ask that same question again in the chat, then we can see where we ended up with. Let's see, 3, 4.
Are coming. Nice. It seems like we moved it up a little bit, maybe around that same level of drawing now. So I feel like it's a success for us today. So again, thank you very much for today. Let me know. We have like a couple of minutes left. I can stay on a little bit longer if that's okay for you. Let me know if you do have any questions. If the questions come later, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can always send me a message. I'm always happy to chat or help out.
I don't have any question, but thank you very much, Hermen. It really, I really enjoyed it. Thank you, and thank you, Bülent, for doing this.
Our pleasure.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thanks for joining.
Please, Valentina.
Thank you, Hermen. If you don't mind me asking, I wonder. I assume you obviously you had to learn all these skills. You weren't born with them. Do you consider yourself a natural talented drawer, like artist, or did you really have to work hard to develop it? And how did you do that, if so?
Yeah, so I think so. I did many workshops, and often when I'm in a business environment and I ask, just like I'm asking you, like, hey, how many of you are comfortable with drawing? Like maybe 30%, or in this case 50, raise their hands. But I've also did this at the school of my kids. And, when they were 5 or 6, and when I asked them, everyone raises their hand. So when we were young, we all believed that we can draw and that we were good at it, or we don't question it. Of course we can draw, can you walk, or can you ride a bicycle, or, it's something, I can hold a pen. I know how to draw a circle. So I think at a certain point, maybe at high school, or maybe even before, we start feeling like, oh, we are not good enough, or we're an artist. So I do really believe that all human beings are very creative, and that everyone knows how to draw at a level that is helpful. So I don't think it matters much if you feel like, hey, I'm very good at this or not. I think it would help everyone just by doing it more. And I think what I'm always trying to reach with these workshops is not so much by showing people learning them different techniques, but more like lowering the bar, show how easy it actually is, and that you can already do it yourself.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Any other questions?
Or any takeaways? Please, Alex.
Are the managers, the senior managers that you work with, really open to scribble stuff on paper? I'm just curious. I haven't seen it with my own eyes.
Yeah, I saw it a lot, and funny enough, the higher the managers are, the more comfortable, because they see the value and they get it, and they are like, oh, wait, this is what we're doing. I know how to draw my idea. And
okay.
so often I did it also like I did workshops with entry-level managers, and there's more like a barrier that they're uncomfortable. So in my experience, the more senior the managers are, the easier they pick it up, because they immediately get it and they see like, oh, this is the value, and then they just want to express their ideas.
They probably feel the pain of expressing ideas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And since it's so, and that's why I'm also very intentionally, when I draw, I keep it simple also, because I don't want, if I would be making my drawings more perfect, then I would create a barrier. Then people wouldn't dare to draw over it. If I would, instead of drawing these stick figures, if I would draw like the perfect people in there, then nobody would draw over them and say like, oh, that's not right, it should be like this. So by keeping it super simple, it's really inviting people to draw over it and improve it.
Oh, that's a great detail to know, but the main value I got from your answer is about the senior manager's openness to scribble things. It's counterintuitive for me.
Yeah, it is.
As a project manager who doesn't really engage in this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Alex. And I think, Graziela, you had the...
Yes, I want to thank you both for this, for inviting me here and for participating in such an insightful moment. And for me, it was very interesting to see how you can put on the board the different ideas when two people are maybe in a conflict, in order to help them to detach by this. It was very, very interesting. Thank you for this and for everything. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you for joining and for again taking the leap and doing it yourself. So
thank you.
And thank you for the resourcefulness with the WhatsApp, Graziela. So Hermen, Graziela sent me on WhatsApp and I put it on the board.
Okay. That's...
Thank you.
All right. So I guess we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Hermen. It was awesome. So everyone, if you want to save the chat, you can save it. Upper right corner, save chat. If you want to reflect on the notes during Hermen's sharing, I also put some screenshots that you could have saved, like some key images. And my invitation for you all, and thank you, Hermen, is to just draw it. Don't overthink it, just draw it. Whether you're alone and maybe you want to reflect about your career or other, let's say, decisions, but also, as you said, Hermen, during workshops. I mean, you shared so much, and the post-it race was beautiful as an idea. So there are so many contexts where we can use this visual thinking, visual elements, drawing to help you, but also help others to progress. So thank you, everybody, and see you at the next editions of the Strategic Thinking series.
Thank you.
You're invited to follow Hermen on LinkedIn. He shares really cool stuff, and he inspires me like every time to practice some more.
Thanks. We all inspire each other, so it's not following, it's connecting, and it's like an ecosystem.
All right. See you everyone.
Thank you. Thanks everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.